My name is Tristan, and this is the omanawanui podcast. I'm recording this from my backyard in Waimānalo, along the Koʻolau mountains at the Waimānalo homesteads. My family, we call this the Backlot, or when my Uncle Todd is emceeing at parties, he would call this Lot B. And before I say anything else, I feel like it's important to understand where I'm sitting when I record this, because this place is not just a backyard to me. This place has mana. This place has history. This place has memory. My grandfather, who we refer to as Papa, with the help of our family, built this place. This is where my family gathered for events. It's where we came together for celebration. It's where my dad, his sisters, his brother, and my cousin got married. It has hosted big family reunions. It has held laughter, music, food, stories, generations of people I love. But this place has also held grief. In our family, when we pass, we plant a koa tree in their memory. That tradition started with my granny, then later with my papa. And then last year in 2025, my dad lost his sister and then his brother on Christmas Day. We planted trees for them too. And the way that we do it is we plant the tree first, then scatter the ashes, and then water the tree so the ashes go down into the soil. And that means something to me. It means even in death, they're still being rooted into this place. Still part of this aina, still part of us. And I'll never forget when we planted the tree for my Uncle Byron, when his wife scattered the ashes. She poured a Coors Light and said, "Here, your last beer, suck 'em up." And that moment was funny, but it was also real. That's family. That's love. That's grief too. Because grief is not always silence and tears. Sometimes it sounds like laughter through pain. Sometimes it sounds like somebody loving you enough to send you off in your own language. This place doesn't just hold life. It's hold loss too. It holds my Rottweiler Laka, who was buried here. So when I say this place means something to me, I mean it deeply. I come here when I feel lost. I come here when I'm grieving. I come here when I'm happy. And a lot of my telehealth therapy sessions have happened right here too. This is where I come to feel the people I love. This is where I come to be still enough to hear myself. And this matters for this podcast because I want whatever comes out of this to carry the mana of this aina. I want it to carry the honesty of this place. I want it to feel rooted, not polished just to sound good, not empty words, real words from a real place with real history behind them. Because omanawanui means to persevere, to endure, to carry hardship for a long time and keep going. But to me, it means something even deeper than that. It means learning how to live with the things that never really fully leave you. This podcast is about grief, loss, trauma, depression, silence, the things people carry every day without always knowing how to talk about them. The things that shape us, harden us, isolate us, and sometimes even make us feel like we're the only ones going through it. And the truth is we're not. I wanted to start this podcast because I don't think we deal with these things very well. Not just in general, but especially here in Hawaii. There's a culture here, especially among men, where you're expected to be hard, strong, unshaken. Like if something hurts you, you just deal with it and keep moving. Like struggles, weakness, if you speak on it. Like grief is something you're supposed to swallow and hide and never let anybody else see. But grief doesn't work like that. Grief is a living thing. It doesn't just go away because you ignore it. It waits. You can bury yourself in work. You can distract yourself. You can stay busy. You can drink, smoke, run, chase noise, chase people, chase success, chase anything that keeps you from sitting still long enough to feel it. But grief is patient. It waits for all that to quiet down. And when it does, it's still there. I know that because I lived it. A few days before my 13th birthday, my mother was arrested for identity theft, but that moment didn't come out of nowhere. Before that, she had already been absent for most of my life. She traveled, she wasn't around, she didn't have a job, and even as a kid, I knew something wasn't right. I knew things were happening that nobody wanted to say out loud. I knew enough to feel it, but not enough to fully understand it. And then when she got arrested, all the pieces came together in a way that no 12-year-old should ever have to put together. I realized she had used that money to build another life away from us, away from me, my brother, and my sister. And as the oldest, that did something to me, because when you're the oldest, you don't just feel your own pain. You feel responsible for everybody else too. My brother and sister were so young. First grade, kindergarten, they don't really remember her the way I do. They didn't fully understand what was happening the way I did. So while I was trying to process betrayal, confusion, abandonment, and loss, I also felt like I had to protect them from it. I had to carry what I felt quietly. And when you start doing that young, it changes you. It teaches you how to survive, but it doesn't teach you how to heal. And for me, that carried into high school in a big way. I never felt more alone in my life than I did back then. And the crazy part is I was surrounded by people every day, but I felt completely cut off. Freshman year, I still felt connected. And sophomore year, I started getting pulled away. And by junior and senior year, I was completely isolated. I wouldn't eat lunch with people. I would take my lunch and go eat in the classroom where I could be by myself. When school ended, I went home. But I didn't want to be home either, so I got a job, partly because it gave me somewhere else to be, somewhere I didn't have to sit in what I was feeling. Looking back now, I can see I was carrying trauma that I didn't understand. I didn't know how to talk to people. I didn't know how to let people in, and I didn't fully understand what was wrong. I just knew I fell apart from everybody else. And I think a lot of people know that feeling. Another thing I've had to come to terms with is being misunderstood. A lot of people think confidence means arrogance. They think if you're sure of yourself, if you speak directly, if you stand tall, and if you carry yourself in a certain way, that you must think you're better than everybody else. And that's never really been me. I don't see myself above people. If anything, I see myself in the middle of the crowd or from behind it, trying to push the people with me through whatever life is putting in front of them. But I also understand that I stand out. I have presence. So when I speak, when I carry myself with pride, when I know who I am, it gets amplified. And sometimes people misread that in the wrong way. But confidence and pain can exist in the same person. Strength and grief can exist in the same person. Being sure of yourself does not mean you haven't suffered. And maybe that's part of why I wanted to do this. Because I'm not interested in pretending life has been clean and simple and easy. It hasn't, and I'm not interested in the version of strength that says the only acceptable story is I handled it, I was always good, and nothing got to me. I don't believe that. I think struggle is normal. I think pain is normal. I think grief is normal. I think trauma is more common than most people realize. And I think a lot of people are walking around carrying things they never put to words. This podcast is for them. It's for the people who feel alone, even in a room full of people. It's for the people who grew up too fast. It's for the people who learn how to function before they learn how to heal. It's for the people who thought being tough meant never speaking. It's for the people who work and work and work because slowing down means feeling everything they've been avoiding. It's for the people who are still carrying grief years later and wonder why it hasn't left yet. It's for the people who need to hear that nothing is wrong with them because they still feel it. Because grief is not weakness. Loss is not weakness. Depression is not weakness. Trauma is not weakness. And talking about it does not make you soft. If anything, it takes real strength to face what hurts you, to sit with it, to understand it, to accept that some pain doesn't leave, but you can still learn how to live with it. That's what omanawanui means to me. Not pretending it never happened, not outrunning it forever, but enduring, understanding, carrying it honestly, and still moving forward. So that's what this podcast is. Not a pity party, not people complaining, not people looking for attention. This is about truth. This is about struggle. This is about what people carry. And this is about reminding whoever is listening that you're not the only one. And for me, one of those places where that struggle really showed itself was love. Or maybe more honestly, the first time I thought I was in love. One thing I struggle with a lot in life is that I'm almost 30 years old and I never had a serious relationship. And I don't say that for pity. I say that because it's true. And I also think that truth has roots. It didn't come from nowhere. When I look back at my life, I can trace a lot of that back to one girl. I met her this summer between my junior and senior year of high school. At that point in my life, like I said, I already felt isolated. I already felt like nobody really wanted me. I felt disconnected, awkward, alone, and honestly kind of invisible. And out of nowhere, here was this person who wanted to be near me. She gave me attention, she gave me energy, and she made me feel seen. And when you've been carrying loneliness for a long time, being seen by the right person can feel like water in the desert. And that's what it felt like to me. She was a person I felt was low-key obsessed with me. And I don't even mean that in a bad way. I mean that I could feel that she wanted my attention. She wanted to talk to me. She wanted access to me. And for somebody who hadn't felt unwanted for so long, that does something for you. And then one night, out of nowhere, she texted me. And after that, we basically didn't stop talking for almost 2 years. Now, during that time, I didn't fully pursue her in high school. And part of that was because my life felt uncertain. I didn't know what I wanted to do after school. And I didn't know if I was staying here. I didn't know if I was leaving. I didn't know what kind of future I was heading towards. So even though I had feelings for her, everything felt unclear. My future was unclear. Her future was unclear. And whatever us could have been felt unclear too. But after I graduated, something shifted. I decided to stay. And because of that, what had felt uncertain before started to feel possible. We kept talking, we kept hanging out, and I still had feelings for her. And deep down, I already knew that. And then one day, out of the blue, she had texted me that she had broken up with her boyfriend at the time. And in my mind, that changed everything. To me, that felt like the door had opened. I thought, okay, this is it. This is my time. This is finally going to happen. This is the moment where everything I had been hoping for quietly, maybe finally becomes real. So I asked her on a date, and that date mattered to me more than she probably ever knew. Now, I'm going to go off script at this moment because I just want to note something that I just came to terms with. I'm sitting in the exact spot right now that when I asked her on the date, this is where we were. It was my first date, my actual first date. I was 19 years old, and I was excited in the way that only somebody can be when they still believe maybe one night could change your life. I planned everything. I saved money for it. I thought about what we were going to do. I thought about the music I was going to play in the car on the way to the restaurant. I thought about holding her hand. I thought about kissing her at the movie. I thought about finally telling her how I felt. And I built that whole night up in my head. And the reason I built it up so much is because it wasn't just a date to me. I feel like proof that I was wanted, proof that I wasn't too late, proof that I wasn't broken, proof that maybe all the loneliness I'd carry wasn't going to define me forever. So I picked her up and went into the night full of hope. And then at the restaurant, she mentioned that after our date, she was going to go see another guy. And just like that, and in the moment, the whole night changed. The night I thought I was going to tell her how I felt turned into a night of jealousy, confusion, disappointment, and honestly humiliation. And not because she owed me anything, but because I had already emotionally invested in a future that wasn't actually there. I had walked in that night thinking I was stepping into something real, and she walked in the same night seeing it very differently. That hurt me a lot. And by the end of the night, the movie had ended, and I was driving her home in silence, and I knew exactly what I was doing. I was taking her home so she could go on and see another guy. I remember holding her hand on the way there, and then at some point I let go, and she kept trying to grab mine. That made it even worse somehow because I felt like mixed signals on top of pain. It got so heavy that I had to pull over and step out of the car. I just needed space from the feeling of it. And I remember that when I stepped out, she got out too and started walking away. Eventually, I got her home. And by that point, I was basically begging her not to go see him. And that's not easy for me to admit, but that's the truth. And if this podcast is going to be real, then it has to be real. That night taught me something about myself that I'm still dealing with to this day. It taught me I am jealous. It taught me that vulnerability is hard for me. It taught me that when I feel deeply, I feel deeply. If I think somebody I care about is interested in someone else, I have a very hard time letting myself go further. Even now, I don't like relationships getting past a certain point if I know there's divided interest. I shut down, I pull back, I protect myself. And some of that is pride, some of that is fear, and some of that, I think it goes all the way back to grief. Because once you've felt abandoned in one way, you start becoming very sensitive to abandonment in other ways. Once lost teaches your nervous system what it feels like to be left, betrayed, or replaced. Even love can start to feel dangerous. Even hope can start to feel dangerous. And I think that's important to say out loud. Because a lot of people talk about grief like it only shows up when somebody dies. But grief shows up in relationships too. You can grieve the love you never had. You can grieve the version of your life you thought was coming. You can grieve the person you almost became with somebody. You can grieve being chosen. You can grieve the years that pass and make you wonder what's wrong with you. And I think a lot of people, especially men, don't have the language for that. We know how to say I'm good. We know how to say it is what it is. We know how to laugh it off. We know how to act like it didn't matter, but that doesn't mean it didn't leave a mark. And that relationship, whatever it was, left a mark on me. Not because it was official, not because it lasted forever, but because it touched something in me that was already wounded. It reached the lonely part of me, the unseen part of me, the part of me that wanted to believe somebody finally chose me, and that didn't happen the way I hoped. It didn't just disappoint me, it confirmed things that I was already afraid might be true. And that's why I want to talk about this here, because this podcast is not about pretending I have life all figured out. I don't. This podcast is not about pretending I've healed every part of myself. I haven't. It's about telling the truth about what shaped me. It's about saying maybe some of the struggles we have now didn't begin now. Maybe they began years ago. Maybe the way we love, the way we avoid, the way we work, the way we isolate, the way we stay guarded, the way we misread people or protect ourselves from them, maybe all of that has roots. And maybe if we're honest about the roots, we can understand ourselves better. Not excuse everything, but understand it. And that to me is also omanawanui. Not just enduring pain, but being honest about what the pain did to you. Being honest about what it taught you. Even if those lessons were ugly. Being honest about the ways you adapted, even if those adaptations don't serve you anymore. Being honest enough to say this is where I got hurt. This is where I changed. This is what I still carry. And if you're listening to this, maybe you carry things too. Maybe your grief looks different than mine. Maybe your loss is different than mine. Maybe your heartbreak is different than mine. But maybe the feeling of carrying it alone is familiar. And that's why I'm here. That's why this exists. So people don't have to sit in silence. I think they're the only one. This is omanawanui. And this is just the beginning.